What are you gonna do?
It's my f***ing video! He's already directing the video. You're just here to be pretty and be bald-headed. Hey everybody!
Hi. Hi. I thought we were doing a retake.
Hey everybody!
Hey, what's up?
Today I'm doing another FX video, and I thought it would be fun to finally do an FX look on Robin, my boyfriend. Yeah, you. It's been, how much? 3 years?
Yeah, about 3 years.
It's been 3 years since I've done anything FX related onto him. Fun fact, he does help me with my FX stuff in the sense of, you know, removing it and all that stuff. Or when I can't reach something on my head or around my head, he's the one who helps me. He also helped me film my Face Awards videos. Today I'm gonna do a kind of, yeah, I don't know, what type of look would this be?
I guess it would be like vampire?
It could be a vampire, it could be an alien, whatever you want.
Human-bat hybrid?
Human-bat hybrid? Yeah, sure, why not? The prosthetic is too big for me. It's a foam latex prosthetic by RBFX. We will also be using some fangs that were sent to me by VampFangs. Thanks! And here we have this glowing orb, this beacon of light, this beardless wonder. Who was so kind enough to be my model today. So if you want to know how I created the look you've seen in the intro, then you know what you gotta do. To seal the foam latex prosthetic, I'm first going to apply the Melt Products Corpse Flesh Pax Paint. And I'm just applying that all over the prosthetic using a latex sponge. Not only am I using it to seal the prosthetic, but I'm also using it as a base color. To give it some more skin-like texture, I'm using the Skin Illustrator Sequel Primary Plus palette by Thomas Surprenant, and I'm using the shade Light Mauve, and I'm stippling that mostly on the center of the prosthetic. I'm using a NYX sponge that I kind of plucked some pieces out of to create a cool pattern. Then of that same palette, I'm using the shade Red Rum, and I'm speckling that on the prosthetic to give even more skin texture. I'm using 99% isopropyl alcohol to activate the Skin Illustrator palette. Again, of that same palette, I'm using the shade Violet, but I'm applying a very, very light wash of it, just enough to kind of give a blue hue to the skin. What I'm doing now is building up light washes of different colors for the skin. Then for the lips and the nose, I used the same palette and I mixed the shades Red Rum and Violet, and I'm applying that with a brush by Bdellium Tools onto the lips and onto the nose, and I'm just building up the color. For now, I'm creating a light wash onto the lips and nose, but later on in the video I darkened that up a little bit more using the same mixture of shades. And then for the inside of the nose, I used that same mixture, but I added black to it to create depth in the nose. I also did that to the crevices of the lips and on the chin area. And to make the skin look even more pale, I used the white shade of that same Skin Illustrator Sequel Primary Plus palette. And with a spatter brush by Bdellium Tools, I'm spattering that all over the prosthetic, also on the lips and also on the nose. And to create some more dimension and irregular spots in the skin, I used that same mixture of Red Rum and Violet, only this time I'm applying it a little heavier and just in random spots on the prosthetic, and I'm using my finger and also a sponge to kind of blend it out. Now unfortunately my camera stopped filming, and I did not notice this because I film on my own. I kind of created a Rorschach test, or ink blot test if you will, pattern on the forehead and on the chin and a little bit on the sides of the prosthetic by simply mixing Red Rum and black of that same Skin Illustrator palette. You can either use a sponge that you plucked some pieces out of and dot that all over the prosthetic in different ways and patterns, or you can use a fluffy brush. I used one by Bdellium Tools, and apply some dots onto the prosthetic and then connect them. That's the easiest way I can describe it. Luckily, later on in the video, I do the same thing, just a different pattern on Robin's neck so you can fully see how I did that. I removed all the excess oils on his skin. I even glued down his brows just to kind of protect them. And now I'm just gonna lay down a layer of adhesive, specifically prosthetic. I never know how to pronounce this. I'm starting out with the nose area as always because that is the center part of your face, so you know that the prosthetic will always be aligned correctly with the rest of your features. And then I apply adhesive on the side of his face, so you know, I started with the right side, so on his cheekbones, on his forehead, and then I'm just gluing down the prosthetic piece by piece. So I'm not just gonna saturate his entire face with adhesive. No, I'm just gonna glue it down piece by piece or part by part, however you want to describe it. And then for the edges, of course, since this is foam latex, all I had to do is apply a little bit of that same adhesive over the edge and let that seep into the prosthetic and onto the skin. And I did that for all the edges, of course. Once I've glued down all the edges, I will take a little bit of setting powder by RCMA and apply that onto the edges. I'm doing this because it will make the edges matte. Therefore, I won't, you know, stick to the edges with my fingers or with my brush. You know what I mean, right? Now I'm taking a little bit of Kryolan's G165 TV paint stick, so a cream makeup if you will, and I'm applying that all over the eye area. Then next I'm taking a pink/purple color of the Kryolan bruise wheel, and I'm applying that on the inner corner of his eye and then blending it also kind of in a random pattern, in a patchy pattern if you will, all over the rest of the eye. To make sure that the creams are not going to move, I'm setting it with a setting powder and a fluffy blending brush. Then to deepen the eyes a little bit more, I'm taking a matte black eyeshadow by Melt Cosmetics. It's called Dark Matter, and I'm darkening the inner part of the eye, and I'm also applying this underneath the eye. Now I did want to tie in the eyes a little bit more, so I used that mixture red rum and violet and applied that underneath the eye mostly. It is safe, but please tell your model to keep their eyes closed until it's safe to open them. I also used that same mixture to blend in the edges of the mouth a little bit more. The mouth area was a little too tiny for Robin's face, but I had to make it work. And then with that same matte black eyeshadow, I'm applying that on the inner part of the lip. Now to blend in Robin's neck and ear with the prosthetic, I decided to use TV paint sticks by Kryolan, but I'm starting out with the G165 color to even out his skin. And then to lighten it, I used the Kryolan TV paint stick in the shade 00, so completely white. Robin is my boyfriend. I cleaned everything. We're good, but just so you know, I would never do this on a model. Never work directly from the tube when you're working on a model. And now with the latex wedge sponge, I'm blending that into his skin. And to set the creams, I used that same setting powder I used before, so by RCMA. Now with a darker violet shade of my custom European body art palette, I'm creating a random pattern that kind of mimics the pattern I created on the prosthetic. I'm using a latex sponge that I plucked some pieces out of, and I'm applying that onto his neck and ear. The violet shade I used before is now completely empty, so I had to substitute it with a shade that was similar. And with the shade Red Rum I used before, I'm spackling on some texture onto his neck and on his ear. Then with the white shade I used before, I'm speckling that onto his neck and ear as well to make the skin look paler and match more to the prosthetic. Now with a light wash of black, of that same Skin Illustrator palette, again I used before, I'm creating a random pattern on the side of his neck and onto his ear. Then I mixed red rum and black together, and applied that onto his ear. So on the top of his ear, on his earlobe, and then in a random pattern on his neck. And then I'm just connecting the dots here and there. This is pretty much what I did for the prosthetic. And then for the last time, I'm using that white color and I'm spackling that onto his ear, onto his neck, to make the dark blotches look a little bit more like skin, and again to match it to the rest of his face. And that is it for the entire look. Hey everyone, and that was it for the entire tutorial. It was hell.
Yeah.
It was hell. It was fun, but a lot of work. Luckily, I did pre-paint the prosthetic for the most part, so that Robin...
saved me some time.
It saved me some time.
Well, and me some time in makeup, but...
Why? It saves you time of sitting in a chair.
True.
But yeah. Yeah, his ass does hurt and my back hurt. I do think it's a pretty cool makeup, and thank you, Robin, for being patient and for being an asshole.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Only I can do that.
I love you for it. And yeah, if you guys want to follow me on social media, all you have to do is type in MakeupByNamaisa on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. If you want to follow Robin, all you have to do is type in TheChemistNL on Instagram and Twitter. Oh, and Twitch. Don't forget to follow him on Twitch, also TheChemistNL. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel. So, thanks, hun. And that was it for the video.
Bye.
Bye.